Welcome to r/divorce. We have 2 stories for you. Enjoy. Story number 1. 13 years together, 5 years married, 3-year-old son, she wants out. I've been reading this subreddit for a while now, and it has really helped put things in perspective. I feel now is the right time to tell my story. My wife, female 32, and I, male 32, have been together for 13 years, and were madly in love for most of it. We traveled to South America together, went to university together, had our entire grown-up lives together. We got married 5 years ago, and had our beautiful child 2 years later. He's now 3.5 years old. I now believe things started falling apart about a year after he was born. I worked my butt off and was very career oriented. She always wanted to work with children, so she opened a daycare with our son as one of the kids in it, just to stay with him a bit longer. She took care of him about 80% of the time, and I barely had 20% of responsibility over him. Problem is, it seemed like everyone was happy with the arrangement, except she wasn't. She started resenting the fact I'm not helping enough with raising him, but only told me about it every few months. When we had a big fight, I would try my best to do more, be with them more, work less, but in her eyes, it was always too little. My wife trains in MMA, yeah, she's a bad mother effer, and started training for her black belt test around August 2019. She worked her butt off training for it, while I stayed at home with our son for about 3 to 4 nights a week. I thought I'm empowering her and letting her do what she loves. I know now that she started seeing these trainings and her friends from there as a replacement for the things she wanted to get from me. While she was training, she became very good friends with a guy who trained with her. I encouraged it because he was a nice guy, has a wife and 3 daughters, and I also became very good friends with him and his wife. We got together during weekends, and our families grew close, as my wife and him were also getting close as friends and training partners. Then came effing 2020. My wife got injured and tore her ACL during training. She had to go through surgery in early February and couldn't try out for the black belt she so desperately wanted. Deep inside, I now know I was angry with the fact she got injured in something that to me was just a hobby. We had her daycare in our house, which was now running with a replacement we brought to do my wife's job. I started working from home during March due to COVID, and I also got a promotion at work, which meant more work along with taking care of my injured wife and our son. She became depressed in ways I was not aware of. I worked long hours to justify my promotion and to avoid having to deal with real life. I always thought our situation is temporary, and as soon as COVID ends and she gets back on her feet, we'll go back to being the great couple we always were. Around mid-September I noticed her texting frantically with someone and acting very strange. I went to bed that night and couldn't shut my eyes for a second. I considered reading her texts, but gave up on it. The morning after, I asked her if she was cheating on me. She didn't respond. I asked if it was with our mutual friend, the guy from training. She didn't respond. Eventually, she told me they were getting really close in a romantic way during the last few months, and that they kissed a week before I found out. Ever since, my life is just one big turmoil. When she told me, she was certain I would pack a bag and just leave her in that moment. But I didn't. After several days of thinking of it all, and after she told me clearly that she doesn't want anything with that guy, and that she kissed him because she didn't know how to get out of our poor relationship, and he's not the real issue here, I decided I want to stay and fight for the love of my life. I decided I'll move out of the house so we can each have our space. Big mistake in hindsight, but I also started taking our son twice a week after kindergarten and hanging out with him a lot. I started working on myself and going to therapy, and I also started taking real interest in her and her life. But it was all too little, too late in her mind. After a roller coaster of emotions, arguments, hugs, kisses, and relations, she decided she wants a divorce. Although she admits she still loves me, is attracted to me sexually, and thinks I'm a great father, She doesn't want to give it a second chance. She's using different excuses as to why not give it a try on different occasions. Most of the time she says, we are not a good fit anymore in terms of our expectations from one another. Other times she mentions my mom and the way I allow her to intervene in her life as a reason. Sometimes it's just the fact she's afraid to get hurt again. At first, I really couldn't stand the fact she wouldn't give us a second chance. After everything we've been through, she didn't even want to go to couples therapy together, saying she's afraid she'll get hurt again. It maddens me to think there's nothing I can do to save my family life, my marriage. It would have been much easier, though probably more painful, if she would have said she doesn't love me anymore, or if she really had an affair with someone else. I read her text messages with that guy and saw they agreed on not talking to each other anymore, and that it was a stupid thing to do, so I believe her when she says it's not about him. But if it's not about him, if she still loves me and is attracted to me, how can she so desperately want a divorce? I think she feels shame and guilt about how she betrayed my trust, though she wouldn't admit it. Her close family knows about what she did, and I feel that in some way she must justify it to herself and her family by getting a divorce. Anyway, I'm now at the early stages of acceptance. I stopped bargaining or even begging with her and told her I would give her what she wants. We even went to a first mediation session. It is all moving way too fast for me, but it's what she wants, and there's nothing I can do about it. These days I swing from hating her for everything she did and how she handled things and betrayed my trust, to missing her so much and wanting to let her know how much I still love her and will always be there for her. It's really tough. I think the worst part for me is, I'm a long way from getting over her. Sometimes my mind is so desperate that I tell myself we are only going through this divorce because she feels bad about what she did and that we'll get back together after the divorce. So pathetic. It is possible that she feels too much has happened between us to try and patch things together. I really don't know. What I do know and must accept is that a divorce will be the end of the road for us as romantic partners. We will always love one another for the great 13 years we had, and for our mutual child, but that's it, and I must accept it. I hope time will help. We are now very amicable and speak daily. I moved close to our home, so I get to come there a lot and spend time with our son. In 2 months, both of us will be moving to different homes. She moves to a different, close-by city to stay with her brother for the short term until she decides where to live permanently. She also decided to close her daycare mid-year and notified the parents about it as part of her overall midlife manic crisis. She claims she can't bear staying at our mutual home with all of our photos and memories as to why she is shutting it down and moving out. I guess it's not my problem anymore. Sorry for the long, sometimes incoherent rant. English is not my native language, and I just wrote everything straight out of my heart. I would love to hear any thoughts or suggestions, though please keep in mind it is still a very delicate situation, and we are not even close to being past it, so go easy on me. Here's the first comment. Sorry for your situation, but all you can do for now is focus on yourself and child. While she may have her own reasons, you begging or pestering her will make you seem weak. Become the best version of you, for you. Good luck. Here's the next comment. Women don't generally leave marriages over a kiss. Women with children especially don't leave marriages over a kiss. The vast majority of "it was just a kiss once" stories are later to be found false, and that a full-blown sexual affair did take place. They were in close proximity frequently, and it appears you and the other spouse weren't exactly keeping an eye on things. She didn't experience a simple crush or puppy love. She's a grown woman. Adult screw. If you want my unvarnished take, you two got together too young. You were literally teenagers. Your brains weren't even fully developed yet. You weren't yet matured. You weren't yet aware of all of life's possibilities. You had no real adult life experience. How could you expect to successfully choose a permanent partner at that stage? There is a reason divorce stats for youthful relationships are so high. In the beginning there was always something to look forward to. education being completed, grown-up jobs, and more financial freedom, marriage, a house, kids, what have you. Whatever she was unhappy with, those little things that niggled at her would surely fix when XYZ milestone is achieved. Then, one day, there was a marriage, and a kid, and a household, and she realized this is it. This is my life. No new milestone to distract from the differences, the incompatibilities, the lack. No future thing she can be sure will result in happiness. And that's when she started the detachment process. I'd bet money she completed that process with an exit affair with that friend. The good news going forward is that you can't make the same mistake. Next time around, you and your future partner will be fully baked seasoned adults who know what they want. Here's the next comment. Sorry to hear, dude. Yeah. She checked out by the sounds of it a while ago. Hence so easy for her to continue, and you are struggling. I was there too. With 2 kids. It's painful to know the end is coming. And there is diddly squad you can do. Only tip is to start exercising, and look after kiddo as good as you can. It does get better. Here's the next comment. Just want to offer more solidarity, specifically regarding the part where the person you love is saying they love you and are attracted, but doesn't support those words with actions. It was the most crazy making part of my divorce. In the end, I think my ex knew the right things that a good and loyal guy would say. He pictured himself as a good and loyal guy and insisted on the image, even as he wasn't acting like one. Believe what you are experiencing as the truth. As for the rest of it, kudos for recognizing the ways you contributed to this too. Acknowledging how your own disappointment, anger, and choices may have contributed will make you a better partner and friend to other people, even if this doesn't work out. Sorry you are going through this. Here's the next comment. She is likely in limerence with the other guy and claiming just a kiss is like the oldest lie in the book. She said via text to him and him to her that they should stop, but there are so many ways that they can keep in touch on other apps or a burner phone that there is just no telling. If this is limerence, it will end at some point. Do not be surprised if she wants you back in 6 months or a year or so. You may or may not want her back at that point. For now, work on yourself and move on with your life. Maybe take up MMA. Story number 2. Starting a divorce. Wife immediately stopped working. Should I be worried? I told my wife a couple weeks ago that I want to start a divorce. She had cheated multiple times and been verbally and physically abusive. She has begged and begged for me to give her another chance, but I'm done. When I told her a couple weeks ago, the next day she flew out to see her family in Texas. We live in Maryland. She basically left work without submitting leave. She came back last night, begged again, and stated I don't think I can go back to work. To her credit, she is an absolute mess right now, so I get it might be hard to do anything, but do I have to worry? Is because she is not working now going to be an issue when I go forward with the divorce? I do not have a ton of money and wanted to do the self-service divorce, or at the bare minimum get all the documents ready then show them to a lawyer. She stated she is not going to put up a fight. The house we bought a week before she cheated on me is all under my name. I told her I would help her with any new accommodations, but I'm still worried about her not working. Any advice, Reddit? Thank you. Here's the first comment. If this does go to trial, your lawyer will push for alimony to be based off of her earning potential, not her current paycheck. This will most likely be accepted by the judge. That is, it shouldn't make a difference. She is an adult who should be able to support herself. Be willing to offer her something to help with the first few months, but past that, follow your state's alimony calculator based on her recent salary. Be aware that the house being in your name doesn't matter. Since it was purchased during the marriage, she is entitled to 1/2 the equity, if any. Here's the next comment. Since she has a work history, and she basically quit her job, there would be no impact to spousal support if left to the courts. If she truly is not going to fight you, then mediation is your best option. Normally with a house involved, the simplified divorces can't be used. You can write out an outline of the agreement before meeting with the mediator to reduce the time and expense. Here's the next comment. I wouldn't really pay attention to anything she's saying right now, since she doesn't sound rational at the moment. I'd get to a separate living space, call a lawyer, and start the legal stuff. You're not responsible for her decision to stop working. Let your lawyer give you guidance on the house. It will get split equitably, or in half depending on the state, and if you do mediation / there are other assets, etc. Here's the next comment. I live in Maryland and did my divorce by hand. Hopefully some of my advice can help. If you both can work it out amicably, I would go to a mediator to write up a separation agreement, or go to a lawyer to write up the separation agreement based on what you both have previously discussed. Once this is done, and in detail, you can file for divorce at the courthouse for I think $100 that was. All this paperwork is on their website to fill out. Unfortunately, we are a 50-50 state, so if she fights you, she gets half of everything. If she still lives in Texas, the paperwork has to be served to her, signed, then returned. This can take a while right now. It took about 3 to 4 months to get my court date. I filed in October, and it was complete in February. Fortunately, I have a friend I met at the time who is a divorce lawyer and helped me with the paperwork. I can try and help you if you need. DM me if you have any questions. I can also recommend this lawyer if you need it. She's really good. Here's the next comment. Unless she was out of the workforce for an extended period for a valid reason, such as taking care of a dependent, she will be accountable to work. Where I live, they take your previous year's T4 tax return and compare your total net incomes for purposes of spousal support. If she just quit her job, that shouldn't have any effect on alimony. Did you buy the house together while you were married though? Even though it's in your name, you acquired it together while you were married. That could complicate things depending on where you live. For example, in Ontario where I am, anything you acquire while married is split 50-50 after including the matrimonial home. She says she won't put up a fight, but if she wants to get a lawyer she potentially could. Never assume what your ex is saying is going to happen. Things can change pretty fast when money becomes involved. Thanks for watching.